Hi, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're going to do some follow-up Q&A. So some of these are my questions from previous videos we've done or topics, and some are the viewers' questions. So we've got a
Mhm.
lot of topics. We're just going to burn through them, and we look forward to more comments and questions as time goes on. All right.
Okay.
First topic is vampires. We had talked about them a few times.
hmm
Quite a bit of interest. So the first question is, do vampires have a soul?
Yes, they do have a soul.
Okay.
It's not how we imagine a soul, I guess is how I want to say it. They do have a being, they're spirits, they do have a soul, just some that are on the darker side are twisted, so their souls are kind of on the darker side. You can kind of see the darkness seeping into it. Whereas there are good vampires, they do have a soul, they do have consciousness, they understand empathy, so they definitely have a soul. It's just, are they twisted or not?
Okay. So yes, that's a yes. Interesting, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Kind of meshing into this was a question, and I already know the answer. We already know. Was Abe Lincoln a galactic?
Yes.
Duh. Okay. So we've already talked about how he was fighting the vampires and all that. And when he was killed, he
Mhm.
basically faked his own death. And we've talked
Yeah.
about how he's been portal jumping and doing other things. So he definitely was a galactic. All right.
Yes.
Anything else we need to know about him? Like you said, he's still in his same original body. So he's out
Yeah.
there jumping around doing his thing.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Still
Okay.
moving around. Still doing his thing.
All right. So, anything else we should ask about that topic?
Um, he's still fighting vampires.
Is he really?
Yeah.
In other realities, dimensions, or planets?
hmm Yeah, so
Interesting.
he's still like a bad guy fighter. Um, so he has expanded. It's not just vampires now. It looks like there's a few other reptilian type creatures he has been fighting also.
Ooh, interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. It would be so interesting if in the future we could meet him or, have him do a video on
That
his.
would be pretty cool.
That would be so cool, right? So many reasons that it would be cool, but very good question. All right.
hmm
Now, next topic is zombies. So we did a video on zombies a while ago, and the person wanted to know if zombies could be created by voodoo or black magic.
You can create a type of zombie using voodoo or black magic.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same type of zombie. So, when we're talking about a zombie created by that, they are going to be basically mindless beings that, are doing your bidding. They're not necessarily going to be, chomping on people and eating them.
Okay.
So you don't really have that vicious part of it, but you do have that, they're just going through the motions without really thinking. It's more on their body reacting.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
So the we'll call them the average zombie is created by, scientifically, right?
Yes,
We're going to call
yes.
that chemically, like
Engineered,
how do they say it again?
chemically engineered.
Chemical. So like are they like born in a test tube? How do they make a zombie? A regular zombie?
So they have a pre-done mixture and they have developed different ways to inject it. So the first way was by small doses of injection
Yeah.
into the body and then later on seeing the results. They have done it. It's pretty much um, different ways to inject, the same mixture. So the other way is by misting it into a room. They're intaking it through breathing, and then they switch. So they've pretty much gone through different ways to utilize this in case of emergency.
Mm.
Um, and they can put it within anything now, and they figured out how to get it to create zombies. It's just a base mixture, has the chemicals in it that reacts with our DNA to create this being.
Okay. So let me just ask a question. So like with clones, we think of them as they're in a secret underground base, and there's like a lot of
Mhm.
those clear tubes where there's like physical matter like growing in the tubes, and when they
Yeah.
grow, then they are a clone. I mean, they're somehow programmed or whatever.
Mhm.
Is the same process kind of used for a zombie?
Not really.
Okay.
So when we talk about clones, there's more of a process because they're trying to grow something from nothing.
Right.
Like it's base DNA, and then it has to expand. So it needs a proper environment to have a successful clone.
Okay. Okay.
But for a zombie, you can take beings, put them into a room, spray it, and then they will later turn into a zombie. So it's really more of a mass production. It's nothing like cloning.
Wow.
Mhm.
Is that also applicable to animals, I wonder?
They have developed a subspecies of it for animals. It doesn't work the same though. I mean, you can still, it's more like rabies in a sense. Like they're kind of like mindless in a sense, but it doesn't do the same effect as if it was on a human.
Okay. Wow. That's
Mhm.
scary.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, like I said in the previous video, I would not want to be up against a runner. There are some zombies that, like, there are so many species of zombies because they have altered it to see how far they could take it, what would the outcome be, what is the right mixture. So basically, a lot of experimentation.
All right.
Um, and if you've seen the zombie movies, like I said, I don't want to go against runners. They are fast and they don't care if, you hit them with a bat, they'll keep going for you.
Yeah. Well, no fear here. It's just an interesting topic, okay?
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm just trying to tidy up a lot of the questions we've received or
of course.
whatever. As I when I walk around the house, I often get ideas, so I write them on my list, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, Jack the Ripper. We talked about him and our we determined that he was part of a detective force.
Yes.
I think we talked about him being part of Scotland Yard. Okay, so he was a detective. Is that the way I remember correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a question from a viewer that said, was Jack the Ripper a royal?
No, but he knew royals.
Okay. So he was a reptilian though.
Yes.
And so he had some status because he was a detective.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. But probably he knew the royals through the being a reptilian. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So he
Okay.
knew them in different ways.
Yeah, so he probably went to their gatherings or whatever they might have done.
Yeah.
Planning meetings. Okay. Anything else we need to know about that?
Um, Not really. Well, I guess that already makes sense. There are beings like him that have gone off cue and kind of gone on to that like outbreak. Like they have something wrong with them. They just never got caught.
Okay.
So like his were he was having a lot of issues towards the end, so he got sloppy. Whereas there are other ones out there that are doing the same thing, but they are not as sloppy. They're not as sick yet. But they are doing the same thing.
Okay. And does this taking the person's organs and all that, does that actually cure them when they have this disease?
It slows it down.
Okay.
So it's to them it's like a cure,
Yeah.
but it doesn't alter it, doesn't reverse it.
Okay. Okay. So for those that don't know, we've done videos on all these topics. And so if you're interested in knowing more, go back to the previous videos for
Yeah.
more detail. But super interesting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we did a video a while ago about Pompeii.
Yeah.
And my question to you, like, so we determined that the bad guys were in the volcano. They blew themselves up as well as the town and surrounding towns. Pompeii is
Yes.
the famous one. But there were, you said, four centaurs in the ruins.
Yes.
Okay. Now, were they citizens? Like, did they live in the town like as an equal
Yeah.
citizen? All right.
Yeah.
So they were part of the community.
Yeah. There wasn't discrimination like there is today. So even being a different type of being, it wasn't, too abstract. It was normalized.
Okay.
So there weren't too many of them, but there were a few of them there.
Okay. And there were also satyrs in that town. Is that correct?
Yes.
And those are the guys that are half human, half like goat bottom or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And were there other mystical creatures or mythical creatures living in that town that we don't know about?
Yeah, there's a few other ones.
Okay.
Yeah. It
So they
wasn't, like I
lived,
said, it wasn't like a lot, compared to the population numbers, but there were enough for it to be diverse.
okay. So these beings lived, like we'll say it, in harmony with the townspeople, who we determined were actually affluent back then. Okay, it was
Yeah.
a city of art and like it was a wealthy city. Okay, so there was a
Mhm.
lot of, theater and art and all of that going on. And they were blown up basically because there was something under their land. All right.
Mhm.
So, did all Roman cities have these, we'll call them again, mythical or mystical creatures living among them openly?
No.
Okay.
There's a few other ones, but it wasn't every city that they were in. Some cities were not as welcoming.
Ah,
Um, so this city was more welcoming. They wanted to have the versatility. They brought their own set of assets to, the community,
yeah.
and everybody lives in harmony. Everybody brought something to the table, so it was a fun place to live and be, and is very harmonious. Other places there were more, let's say, negative vibrational patterns, so they weren't really in harmony. And it wasn't necessarily because they didn't want to be, it was because it was kind of set up for them not to be in the correct vibrational pattern of harmony.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. All right. So they weren't killed for any reason whatsoever because these creatures or these beings were commingling with the human population. They were
Mhm.
killed basically for the resources under their town or their
Correct.
city. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Mhm.
So, I did, I was going to ask like a whole bunch of really stupid questions, like were the centaurs different colors? Like, that did they speak, in this case, Italian? Like, did they speak verbally? Like, is that how they communicated with
Yeah,
you?
they can speak verbally. They also have their own language. So they were versatile in that. Um, and one thing that's interesting is they didn't actually speak Italian then.
Oh,
No.
Latin?
Yeah.
Well, okay, Latin. So they did speak Latin. Wow.
Mhm.
All right, so we never really talked about centaurs before, I don't think. So were they created beings or were they from another planet? Like, what was the origin of a centaur?
I'm getting a mixed response. The big one coming through is that they were made. They
Okay,
were created.
created. Yeah. I kind of thought that, but
Yeah.
There's and there's many probably subspecies or whatever, you know.
Yeah, there's a few subspecies, but for them, I am getting mostly made. Like I said, I'm getting kind of a mixed hit with that.
Okay.
So it could be, some that were from other planets, and
Yeah.
then they, brought them in and, took some samples and then said, hey, maybe we could create one, and then went on that whole path
Okay.
of trying to create one.
Okay.
But mostly I'm getting they were made.
Okay. So isn't that interesting for the viewer that we have these creatures living among the general population in harmony?
Yeah,
And now if they walk through town, people would try to capture them or kill them, you know?
exactly. Like,
Horrible.
oh, this is different. They try to see what they can get from it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else we should know about centaurs or them living in Pompeii or Pompeii in general?
Um, Not that I can think of, but Pompeii, like I said before, it was a lot different than we imagine. And when we think about Pompeii, they've painted this picture of what it looked like and how they acted. Most of the places were used for different purposes. And like I said before, they didn't even speak Italian. They had a different type of language. So we kind of put these, I don't want to say stereotypes, but this image towards Pompeii of who they are and what they are based off of, what the government has told us.
Right.
And it is different. And they definitely use the area for their mining purposes,
Right.
just in a hidden way.
Yes. Yes. They're excavating. Right.
Yes.
So interesting topic. So, these guys in the volcano, like there's been so many volcanic eruptions through the years. Like this one was an accident, of course. They tried to control what it was going to do and it blew up in their face,
Yeah.
literally. But I wonder if these other volcanic eruptions throughout history have been the same type of thing, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most of them are, caused by something scientists have done. And they do have access to inside the volcano. I mean, how many people go up to the volcano saying, "Hey, let me check it out?" So it's actually a great hiding spot. Um, just most of the time, it doesn't turn out best for whoever's there.
Wow. How about like Mount St. Helens? That blew in, I want to say it was late 70s, early 80s. That was a massive explosion. Was that natural?
No, it wasn't natural. And you also have
Ooh.
to think, when we have these explosions from volcanoes, this is also how they have, controlled the thought about what is inside the earth. What are the layers to earth? Well, you have, this magnum coming out of this volcano. So this is definitely inside. And then this is this whole layer. So they've used this to kind of paint the picture of what's actually inside because nobody's actually gone in there. So it was used as multiple purposes.
Interesting. So in Hawaii, there's an active volcano. Now it hasn't
Mhm.
blown, but we'll call it oozing lava, and it
Mhm.
actually goes into the ocean. Is that natural?
No.
What?
Hmm.
Why would they do that, I wonder? Like, they're just trying to brainwash us into how the earth is set up or structured?
Well, it's set up, and then it's also control about closeness. So it has a heat source. You don't want to touch it. It also ruins the resources. So when a volcano goes off, it's going to kill the plants and the life in its path.
Right.
And then you need to be knowledgeable of how to use this volcanic stone that's left behind. How can you actually resource it? So there's a lot that goes into why they're doing it. But for the most part, it keeps people away because you don't want to be near the heat. There's also a smell to it, and then it's going to kill the resources around. So
Wow.
logically, it doesn't make sense for you to want to be near one.
Right. You're right. Thank you for that.
Mm. Yeah.
We're a little bit off topic, but it's so interesting. And I should make a list and we'll just burn through them like every volcanic eruption ever. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So We did a video a while ago on Martin Luther King, and basically
Hmm.
what you had said is that he was dead. You know, I had heard he was suffocated in the hospital, and I always, and this was years ago, I always made that assumption it was after he was shot. And you
Hmm.
said he was dead before he was shot. All
Yeah,
right. So, loaded question. Was the one that was killed actually the real Martin Luther King, or was that a replacement?
replacement.
Okay. Is the real one still out there somewhere?
No, he's passed.
Okay. Dang it. All right. Was his mother assassinated? Her name was Alberta King.
Yes,
Okay. And that was the real mother?
yes.
Okay. Interesting stuff, huh?
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
that was just a very controlling time frame.
yeah.
And he brought about a huge change in people, and they didn't like that.
Yeah.
So they wanted to change the outcome. Because just think, I mean, he made such a difference even after he passed. Just imagine if he didn't.
Right. Right. So we're still talking about him and he's gone, of course, but so he
Mhm.
knew that they were after him, of course.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he took on a role that most wouldn't want to.
Right.
I mean, it was definitely never easy.
Right.
But he made such an impact, and that's where, I think that's where they got scared of him because they saw how much of a difference he made in people wanting, everything. They just wanted to be, normalized, and he was bringing that to them.
Right. They want freedom too. They want
Yeah.
equal rights, freedom to do whatever they want,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
live in peace, basically, without harassment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And they were shocked at how one person could stimulate the rest of the people uprising for the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like that ants movie, like the grasshopper's bigger and meaner, but when the ants all gather up, their numbers exceed that of the grasshoppers, right?
Oh, definitely. And that's the hard part is we don't see ourselves as that. We don't see that we could make a difference. We
Right.
see, okay, this person made a
Yeah.
difference. This person that's speaking made a difference. Let's follow that.
Yeah.
And that it does become a problem because we're not thinking of ourselves as being this higher energy, this higher being that can change, that can bring change to the world.
Right.
We just feel like we have to follow others.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help us or benefit us because, we're not putting our power into it.
Right.
And I've said this before, like we are higher beings. Most of us, pray to something. We think that there's this higher being out there. What if we are the higher being? What if we can change it? But by giving out our power and asking for somebody else to come into it, we're giving away our power.
Right. We
And
are the
that's
ones, we are the ones we're waiting for.
exactly.
Yeah.
We keep waiting for something else. It's not going to change it.
Right.
So, yeah,
Interesting. All right. Everyone keep that in the back of your mind.
giving you hints, people.
Just teasing. All right, now this was just a great question. Okay, so we have been taught that we have an entourage of like we'll call them guardian angels. All right.
Yeah,
Or we could call them guides or whatever, but let's call them guardian angels. So the question is, do we have other types of beings beside those guardian angels around us or that work with us or surround us that we might not know about?
yeah.
Okay. So what kind of beings would those be?
Well, pretty much one of every mythical creature. Sometimes we have two. So for the most part, we have fairy. You can have a unicorn. Um, what else is there? Those are like the two coming to my
Dra-
head right now.
Dragons.
But you can have usually people have one dragon spirits. Not everybody has them. You do have to be of higher vibrational pattern to have a
Okay.
dragon.
Yeah.
The reason being because they bring in so much energy. Um, for low energy people, they just can't handle it.
Okay.
And for the most part, dragons are very picky. So if they see their person making dumb choices and it's constant, low energy, they'll be like, this just doesn't fit us, and they can switch. And that's the thing about guardians. Some of them can switch. Most of them, like angels, fairies, um are with us more permanently throughout our
Okay.
lives. Whereas we do have other beings that can switch in and out, and they're kind of chosen us. Like,
Okay.
hey, I really want to work with this person. They have high energy vibrational pattern. They're going to make a huge difference, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And they can choose to work with us and be with us, and they can pick us.
Oh, cool. And how about like extraterrestrials? Do we have any of those?
We do have one extraterrestrial. We don't have too many of them, mostly because I guess the stereotype about extraterrestrials, they kind of see how we think about them, and so for the most part, they don't stay with us
Okay.
because they don't want to be, part of that. I know that sounds kind of bougie, but for the most part, we do have one to two extraterrestrials.
Interesting. So they're all like invisible, like kind of in our energetic field, protecting and guiding us in some fashion.
Yeah, and so the interesting thing about Guardians is they're not with us 24/7. I mean, we do have their energy with us. We can call them in. You can have communication with them. You can ask for their name.
Yeah.
So you can actually see who is part of your entourage. And you can actually call in like guardians. Like if you want like an extra
Right.
dragon, you could call in that
Right.
energy and see if they'll come to you.
Right.
Like I said, most of them will pick. Um, and then they do their own thing. So they are of obviously higher vibrational pattern,
Right.
but they have an understanding of how to go through the realms and how to work through it. So they don't have to stay with us 24/7. They can go do their own thing. We can call them in, they can come help us, and they have set up their parameters to know what we're doing so they can guide us throughout the day.
So let's say we have a unicorn in our energetic field or whatever, in our entourage. How do we use a unicorn? Like, what is the purpose there? Is it just magic and miracles or?
Well, yes, magic miracles, but they do have a deep understanding of the earth. They have a deep understanding of how communication can happen. So they have more intelligence versus what we think. So you can call in a unicorn to bring in guidance, health, magic, miracles if you want, but for the most part, you can request anything from these beings. The only difference is what type of being it is. Some have, like, when you think unicorn, you think more magic, so you think miracles. Okay, I really need this to happen. I'm going to go to this one. Okay, so I just really need some healing. I'm going to go to my fairy. I really need some guidance. I'm going to go to the angel. So you can kind of pick and choose based off of what you're looking for to go to specific ones.
Yeah.
But in general, they can help. All of them can help in any way possible. All you have to do is ask. And like I said, if you want to have communication with them, you can ask. You can get guidance from them. You can have conversation. It might not be like the conversation between you and me, but you can get information. You can get downloaded from them. You can, ask for dreams to get step-by-step instructions on how to communicate with them. So there's a lot you can do with them. Also, if you are going through your day low energy and you've done your Reiki, you've, gone through your steps and you're just like this is a huge Klingon. I can't get away from it. Help me. They can come in and help you while you're still doing your mundane task. So there's a lot that they can do on a regular basis that we don't really think about because we think that we are by ourselves.
Okay. Very interesting. And for those that are watching, we used to call, well, we call energies or entities that are draining us. They're using our energetic field for their food. We call them
Yeah,
claimants. They attach to us, and then you
yeah,
feel like sleepy and you just want to go to sleep, or you're really
mm,
angry for no reason, or whatever it might be. So
yeah.
sometimes there's an attachment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
usually you'll have an attachment due to that. It's very rare it's not an attachment. I mean, you could go through your average day and all of a sudden just feel sleepy. You've picked something up. So get rid of it as soon as you can. You'll start feeling better.
definitely. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Deanna. I really appreciate all your answers
Of
and
course.
thank you for your time.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.